Hey ToyFans, welcome back to another week of Project Geek Week. I'm Rob, and with me this week I've got Greg.
Hey.
And I've got Jeff.
How's it going, everybody?
So we are trying to get back on a regular schedule here. This is our second show in a row. Woohoo!
Yay!
So hopefully we can keep this going up and we won't have another hiatus like we had previously. And while we were just celebrating, at least I'm a bit disappointed right now because I was really hoping those rumors about an X-Men trailer to be true, and here we are, Friday night, 9:19, at least Eastern time for me, and there is no X-Men trailer online.
Yeah, I've been looking for it all day.
Yeah, so what I did notice is that a new trailer for Spectre came out today, so I don't know if there were some wires crossed. I think that Spectre trailer's in front of The Martian. So
what is
I guess
Spectre?
Spectre is the next Bond film.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the final one for Sony Studios, and rumored to be the last one for Daniel Craig, at least contract-wise. So, without getting too far off topic, they may be looking for a new Bond soon, and for sure they're going to be looking for a new studio soon, because Sony doesn't get to keep the rights inherently. They'd have to bid on them again.
I mean, I feel like Chris Pratt's and everything else, so we might as well just keep on to
So, oh man, I think Idris Elba would be a good choice to pick up the Bond mantle, although I wouldn't mind seeing Daniel Craig stick around for a little while.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him re-sign.
So, well, and I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes, too. I think right now, Universal's got the most purchasing power, so Bond goes to Universal. That could be interesting to see Jason Bourne and or James Bond at the same studio. So, all right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and talk about our news for the week. The first thing we want to touch on is that there is a Ghostbusters animated movie in the works. Now, we don't know if there's any connection to the 80s show, and I believe Variety was actually the one that reported this. But we don't know if there's any connection to the 80s, the real Ghostbusters animated series. Personally, I'm hoping there is. I think all the voice cats, for the most part, are still alive. But it's definitely Sony trying to make money off the franchises that they have, recovering after some of the financial troubles they've been having lately. But I'm excited for the movie. Do you guys have any thoughts on an animated Ghostbuster movie?
I'm definitely for it. I think if it is going to come out after the new movie, it wouldn't surprise me if it was featuring the new movie cast. I haven't really read up on it one way or the other, but I mean, if they're trying to kind of tie into that, I think it would probably be more likely it would be them than the guys, just kind of, like I said, trying to kind of bring it all together. But
yeah, that would be interesting, and I think many of the actresses they've chosen would be good in voice acting as well.
Yeah, well, I think Kristen Wiig at least has done voice acting with the Despicable Me film, so certainly be old hat for her.
Yeah.
Interesting to note about the new cast. I know when the female Ghostbusters film was first announced and they had the casting going and everything like that, I don't know if it was Reitman or somebody at Sony was saying, this isn't the only Ghostbuster film we're working on. We're considering doing one that's got an all-male cast as well, and I wonder if this animated film is related to that. And at one point, Channing Tatum had been rumored to be the male lead for the all-male Ghostbusters, so maybe that's what this is. I don't know.
Magic Busters?
Magic Busters,
yeah.
But if there is an animated film,
Don't cross the streams.
I would really like for it to be set in the original continuity, but it seems like Sony's moving away from that these days, so I don't know what you're going to do there. But
It's worth mentioning that Ivan Reitman is producing on it as well.
Oh yes, that's right. So if that's the case, maybe we'll get those old connections. So, but it is going to come out after the live-action feature, and there's even a rumor that it's going to be told from the perspective of a ghost, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would wonder how they would tell that. That would be a very interesting story to tell. He's like trapped in the trap.
Right, or maybe it's just Slimer, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's following him around.
Played completely for laughs. So, well then, let's move on to the next bit of news here. Terminator 6 has been placed on hold indefinitely. Terminator Genesis came out this summer. I personally didn't have as many problems with it as some other people did. I thought Arnold Schwarzenegger, though, was the best thing about that film. I'm a little disappointed to hear that they've put it on hold because the rights are so weird with that franchise right now that if they freeze the movie now, we may not get a Terminator 6 because I think the rights go back to James Cameron in the next 2 years, and who knows when, if, how he's going to use that property moving forward. So, did either one of you guys see Terminator Genesis?
I did not.
I did not either, strictly off of the trailer. I think Cameron getting the rights back could be the best thing that ever happened to that franchise. I am an avid fan of the first two movies.
Mm-hmm.
I've just hated everything they've done recently with it. Like, as much as I want them to get them right, I think they need to start over. They've just gone too far off topic.
Well, my concern with Cameron getting the rights back is that I don't think he's going to do anything with them.
Yeah, I've heard speculation he'd basically just sell it to Universal or somebody.
Yeah.
Well, at least that would be progress. I mean, Cameron anymore, he's probably one of the most, I don't know if I'd call him influential, but he's definitely one of the most prominent directors we've had over the last 30 years of cinema. And I feel like at this point he's at the end of his career because he's wanting to spend, 15 years now working on Avatar?
Something like that, yeah.
Frankly, I enjoyed the first one all right, but I have no interest in seeing any more movies set in that universe, and he just really wants to plow on through with like another trilogy. So
I can't really see him going back to Terminator either. It feels like that would be a step backward for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would argue he's in the middle of a step backward right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, anything to get out of the hands of Paramount, like they just the way they feel that they've destroyed my childhood with what they've done since Terminator 2. I'm ready for a clean slate. Even
Robert's
if
a fan, by the way.
Reboot.
Yeah. So you're saying full reboot then, Jeff?
Yeah, like I love the first two, but everything since I'm almost ready to either be done with it and just leave it where it is, so I can still enjoy my original movies, or start fresh. Just some of the changes they've made, and with I understand it's a time travel franchise, but what they tried to do with the plot of this last movie, I just wanted no part of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think there's something to be said for Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles.
That was good. I will give you that. Yeah, they did it. They did a very good job with that.
So, all right. Well, I guess we'll kind of wait and see what happens with that franchise. But it's just interesting to see kind of where it's at, especially given how much money it made. I think it made over $400 million at the box office.
Yeah.
So, or billion maybe. I get the
million for sure.
400 million. There we go. Made over 400 million. So, moving on though, we had a character leak for Street Fighter V. As you guys know, if you've watched Project Geek Week for a while, Greg and I are pretty avid fighting game players, and it looks like there's a new character named Laura who's Brazilian, and she seems to have some electricity powers. Her fighting style seems to be jiu-jitsu. And Greg, you and I were kind of speculating. Does this mean that Blanca is being replaced by a new character?
It would be interesting because you know that they're not going to bring over all the classic characters. They also confirmed that Zangief will be coming, by the way.
Yeah, okay, I did see that.
But yeah, I mean, somebody's going to get left out, and if you've already got this Brazilian character, then I don't know. It just seems like there may not be room for another.
My only thing with that is, what are they? There's like 5 different variants on the Ryu and Ken characters at this point.
Yeah, I'm guessing
it's just
we're gonna see less of them, I think, in 5. We've had Ryu and Ken confirmed, but I don't think they've confirmed any other Shotos yet.
Yeah. So I guess it's also worth noting too that when Street Fighter 4 came out, what was the cast like? 24 characters? Is that right, Greg? At launch, or was it?
Maybe even less.
Yeah, so I guess Blanca could always come back as DLC. I mean, he was DLC for Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure there'll be an ultimate super awesome edition that has twice as many characters. That's just what they do.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would think because he's essentially one of the core. What was the first game, 8 or however many fighters they were. I mean, he's been around for so long. Yeah, I would think that he'll be around in some fashion or another, because that's a big character to leave out. I mean, it's not like leaving out Ryu, but it's. And I'd maybe put him on par with Chun-Li. Like, they'd be like not putting Chun-Li in the game.
Well, I mean, Blanca wasn't in Third Strike, which is a little bit strange, but in Street Fighter 4 you had all of the characters from Street Fighter 2 and lots of other characters, so yeah, they seem to be going toward more, not less.
Yeah. Not to mention, if they remove Blanca from the game, what the heck is producer Yoshinori Ono going to be tweeting with?
Of course.
He'd have to get a new toy. So... all right, well, I just thought that was worth mentioning. Definitely we'll keep an eye on that. That's probably a game that we'll be getting at launch whenever it releases. So, next up we have Sarah Michelle Gellar being added to the cast of Star Wars Rebels. Now, This is interesting for a couple of reasons. One is Freddie Prinze Jr. has already got a role on the show, so and it seems like that she'll be acting opposite her husband. So
I think they actually have several fight scenes fairly early on, from what I've seen in this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll make for some interesting dialogue then, right?
Yeah, from what I've seen, she's essentially kind of toying with him because they're... I don't know how familiar you are with Rebels, but they're... Basically, Ahsoka is in charge, Ahsoka Tano being an old Jedi from the Clone Wars. She's in charge of the rebellion at this point, and they know she's around, but they don't know where she is, so the Empire's trying to bait her out.
Okay.
So apparently she's just toying with Kanan throughout the series, trying to draw out Ahsoka.
Okay.
Voice acting for a character I thought was very cool. Sounds a lot like when Princess Leia is in her bounty hunter costume.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that same kind of voice modulation. Similar mask sounds very interesting, but she's going to be an amazing character.
Wait, did you say similar mask? So she's got like the whole Boosh mask on?
Not the same, but it's a similar. She is wearing a full face mask, and she does. You see from the preview, she does take it off from time to time.
Okay.
But she does have a full face mask on with the voice changer. So.
Okay. Well, now my first exposure to Sarah Michelle Gellar in voice acting was the 2007 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where she was the voice of April O'Neil. I don't know if she's done any other voice acting outside of that, but I thought she did a pretty good job in that movie. Has she done anything else that you've seen her in?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not voice acting, no.
All right. So, but definitely a get for the Rebel series.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, then. Well, then another note here we have is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is getting yet another television series. This one has been greenlit, and it's going to be a half-hour sitcom based on Marvel's Damage Control characters, which is so crazy that I think it's perfect. A sitcom basically about guys who clean up the rubble and damage from superhero fights. I mean, they could have a lot of fun with that, and the fact that it's a sitcom really just kind of breaks the formula of what we're used to with Marvel, both movies and television series, so I think that's why this has a chance of working, personally.
Yeah. Not to go on too much of a tangent, sorry.
You're fine.
The thing I love about the superhero, rush right now, the fact that there's so many superhero movies, is it really feels to me like the superhero genre is evolving. Whereas when you compare it to something like, I don't know, The Walking Dead or a lot of zombie shows, it feels like that franchise or that genre isn't evolving as much. I mean, the superhero genre is trying so much new stuff, and I love to see it.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, it definitely, just as a fan of the content in general, it's like, it keeps everything fresh, right? I mean, had it been another sort of, I don't know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, or even if it was as good as Daredevil, it'd just be like, oh, God, another superhero show that we're going to have to watch. But when I heard it was a half-hour sitcom, I was like, oh, man, I really want to see what this is like.
Yeah.
So
when you told me about this earlier today, the first thing I thought of was Space Janitors on YouTube. I love that show, so I hope if it's even half as funny as that was, I'll be all aboard.
All right, awesome. So, and another thing too, worth noting, I think, if this sitcom becomes huge, and I'm just thinking back to other sitcoms I've seen, whether it be Everybody Loves Ray or Friends or whatever, it seems like movie stars are always more anxious or more into the idea of guest starring on a half-hour sitcom. Mm-hmm. So where we aren't seeing, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and Robert Downey showing up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything, I would say if the sitcom is popular enough, perhaps they'll show up for a half-hour comedy.
Yeah, or at least cameo, right?
Exactly, right? Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's so much more acceptable for a big-time actor to show up in a half-hour sitcom.
Yeah, and the only thing I could maybe think about with that is that those guys, especially now, it's going to be so expensive to get their face on screen.
Yeah, it really is.
Depending on what the show's budget is, sitcom budgets are usually pretty low.
Well, that's true, but
it's like working into their movie contract, maybe. That could be something as well.
Well, that's true, and another thing to note too is that they're always introducing new actors, so they don't necessarily have to get those guys. I mean, Anthony Mackie, at least right now, seems to be pretty game for showing up in anything. So, definitely interesting to see how that kind of evolves. But I'm very curious to see even the first trailer for that sort of show. I just kind of want to get a better feel of what that's like.
And they've got some serious comedy cred behind it too, like the Daily Show guy, Ben Carlin. 30 Rock and Parks and Rec guy, and of course Jeff Loeb.
David Miner. Jeff Loeb, not necessarily being the strongest part of that lineup, but Ben Carlin and David Miner are definitely noteworthy. So, all right, then we also had, on a Friday of all things, the Age of Ultron Blu-ray came out today. So if you guys haven't seen the movie yet, or if you've just been waiting to pick it up, definitely run out and get it today. I actually did a video already that's on my YouTube channel of just an unboxing of the Steelbook version of this movie that was exclusive to Best Buy. So if you guys kind of want to see what that's all about, definitely check that out. Also, I'm doing a giveaway related to that unboxing. So if you want to win a digital copy of the movie, watch the video and follow the instructions and see if you get lucky. So, all right, well, then let's move on to the actual TV shows that we've had this week. Let's start off by talking about Vixen. Greg, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened in Vixen?
All right, so Jeff mentioned earlier he was kind of disappointed by the last episode, and I can see why, because really very, very little actually happened in this episode. It kind of starts and you get, I don't know, a minute or two of Mari fighting with her sister, and she just uses the spider on her, disables the totem, and then she just goes back. She talks to her dad for a little bit, and then Arrow and Flash show up and say, we want to train you, and she's like, nah, I'll just do my own thing. And then they kind of dub her Vixen, and that's the end of the episode.
Well, there was some pretty hilarious lines from Flash before things were all said.
Yeah, there was some banter.
Yeah, but you're right. I don't understand why when, he's like, Cisco's just been calling you Vixen as almost like a sexist nickname.
Mm-hmm.
She's just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'll just make that. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and the big thing I took from this episode, too, it definitely is making me think more and more that this was just one pilot that they split up into chunks. Like Greg was saying, with that fight scene being so short and just trying to cram so much in it, it almost seemed like, in the last 10 minutes of the cartoon I was watching when a kid, where they would try and tie up all the loose ends right away before the next show came on.
Yeah, it felt really rushed, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yep, and Jeff, you even commented too that you find it hard to believe that a parent would know their child is truly evil at age 4.
Yeah. So that's the whole deal is, when they're having their big talk right before their fight, and she makes the point of her mother saying, she knew you were evil, at that age. I don't know what. I mean, even if you go back and watch Damien or something, like, no mother's going to admit that their kid is evil. Like, I had a really hard time buying that, but it was such a small part of the episode that I was able to kind of gloss over it.
Yeah. Now, Greg, I haven't followed Flash or Arrow as closely as you have. Have we ever heard Detroit as a city mentioned at all in those shows, to your knowledge?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. So I'm just curious to see if the mentions of that city start showing up on the show now.
It definitely gives her own place to play in, too, so that's good.
Exactly. And a real place, right? Not a made-up city name like the other heroes have. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and move on to Gotham then. I've got to say, Gotham is probably the most enjoyable episode I've seen since the show started. I really, really enjoyed this week.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about it as kind of the best episode of Gotham so far.
Yeah, I
have to say, starting out, like, last week you were like, I wanted to see more Jerome.
Yeah.
Well, this week
we got it in spades,
it was
man.
basically a Jerome episode.
Yeah, and I really feel like for all the lackluster writing, I guess it was, or maybe, I don't know, they just didn't feature him in the episode the way I wanted to see him featured last week. This week really just hit it home. There's just some genuine terror, whether we may talk about the events of the episode out of order, and of course, full spoilers for these episodes as always, but at one point he almost lights a school bus on fire, and as dangerous as that was for the cheerleaders on the bus, I wanted to see him pull it off, right? Like, he's a villain, but it was such a perfect, like, Joker-like moment. I was like, man, is he actually going to do this? And I was kind of disappointed when he got stopped.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I was kind of feeling the same. I was like, I'm sure the show isn't going to go there, but it would be kind of cool if they did.
Yeah. So, but then they did go there with the police station at the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was
they really went there.
Really, really great, and I love too. I think the best moment for Jerome in this episode was when he was, I don't know, the guy who's possibly maybe related to the Court of Owls.
Theo?
Yeah, Theo, was it?
Yeah, Theo Gallivan.
Theo Gallivan, when he's at his house, and Jerome's talking down, I don't know, the guy...
The cannibal guy, yeah.
Yeah, the cannibal guy. And they
who's dead now, by the way.
Yeah, right.
He got shot at the end of the episode when he tried to make a joke on camera, and Jerome was like, that's my joke.
Right, and that was perfect too for Joker.
Yeah.
But no, when they did the Russian roulette, that was probably my favorite moment of the entire episode. When the cannibal thinks that they're going to take turns switching the gun back and forth, and Jerome just takes the gun and fires at himself 3 times.
Yeah.
And he just kind of has a speech about how you can't have any sort of hesitation about anything. You got to commit, and it was just really creepy, scary Joker, and I just thought it was really perfect. Again, he's not Joker, but come on, this guy's got to be Joker now. I'd be disappointed if he's not.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll ever refer to him as the Joker, but we did get an interesting line from Commissioner S.H.I.E.L.D. before Jerome killed her, where she said something to the effect of, nobody will remember your name, you will die soon, and no one will remember your name, which I could see sort of the Jerome character dying, but the Joker living on, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. So, and it may even just be, like, at some point a nickname that the media gives him because he's constantly talking about joy and happiness or whatever, and he's laughing.
Yeah.
They might start like this murdering Joker, I don't know, something like that, and then just kind of adopts it.
I have to say, like, everybody's going to be talking about Jerome this week, and oh, by the way, they named the villain crew the Maniacs.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But I have to say that outside of that, the plot was a little bit disappointing for me in the sense that it felt kind of like they were moving the pieces around. So we had last week Harvey's not in the force, and then through Commissioner Essen's death, he comes back. You had Bruce firing Alfred, but of course he's back by the end of the episode.
But I personally liked how they played that out.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I always love when Alfred gets to tell one of his blokey stories.
You're right. Because you don't even understand it half the time.
Yep. And then, like, he tells this whole story, and then Lucius just looks at him and he goes, "What is a kipper anyway?"
That was great. And then I like that Lucius is in the fold now.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
see, that was a good excuse. Basically, what happened in the episode, to go gloss over it briefly, is Alfred destroyed the computer that Bruce wanted to get into with all of his dad's files, and Bruce fires him, and then he invites him back, but basically says, "You have to fix the computer." So Alfred tracks down Lucius.
Yep. So, and it has a conversation that I think starts on a much different tone than where it ends, because you're not really sure where he's going with it. And then Alfred, I mean, he makes you feel like he could come through on his threats, you know? I mean,
yeah, he really could.
Friendly as a guy as he is, you got to remember, he's like, is he SAS or that's Australian? What is he? He's
MI6 or something?
MI6, yeah. So he's a scary guy. He's just a really friendly, scary guy.
Yep.
So,
and he's going to be training Bruce in the future.
Yes, and I look forward to those scenes. Also, it's worth noting that Penguin was not in this episode.
Yeah, and I'm guessing we'll have more of Penguin reacting to what happened at the police station next episode. They're just really, like, so much happened, there really wasn't time for it.
Right? And I'm loving where the Maniacs have left off, especially where Jerome has left off. Now my concern is don't overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we got a great sort of Joker play. I feel like we just need him to maybe quiet down for at least a whole episode. That way when he comes back, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. You know?
Yep.
So, all right, well, I love the momentum of the show right now. And guys, if you haven't watched Gotham since Season 1, you can go to Fox's website. It's one of the few broadcast websites out there that still let you watch a show without putting in your cable provider, which never makes sense to me when it's an over-air broadcast show and you have to put in your cable provider.
Agreed.
But you can watch these shows on Fox, and it's a great time to get into it, so definitely check it out.
Yeah, you could probably start with Season 2 and not really miss that much. You want to maybe want to go back in and fill in Season 1 later, but I think it's a good starting point.
Absolutely, 100%.
Speaking of good starting points, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3.
Hey, and there we have for the segue. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually gave a lot of information this week. This was the first premiere coming back. We saw the update, the status quo with where Daisy's at. She seems to be more comfortable with her powers. We see that she seems to be partnered with Mac. We see that Hunter and Bobby are still an item. In fact, Hunter, at one point in the episode, indirectly proposes to her.
Yep.
We see that Coulson is adapting just fine to his new mechanical hand, but we didn't get to see as much of it as I would have liked. I was hoping he'd do something super techy with it. And
yeah, it was pretty slighted in this episode. He made a reference to how he wished his hand would grow back, or like somebody wasn't wishing their leg would grow back, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Also, we see where Fitz has been, and I gotta say, I think Fitz is like the secret weapon of the show right now. I think ever since Season 1, especially towards the end after all the Winter Soldier stuff, Fitz really came through to me as one of those sort of, he doesn't have a lot of muscle, but he's got a lot of heart, and I think we really see that in this episode when he kind of takes on, I don't know, it's not really a terrorist organization per se, but he goes into some very shady people and makes really a deal with the devil, and part of that deal is that he's almost willing to trade splinter bombs to get some information on the obelisk that S.H.I.E.L.D. got at the end of the last season. And I wouldn't have been surprised if Fitz had actually given these, mass murderers splinter bombs just so he could find out what's going on with Gemma. So I thought that was a really, really well played out scene. I think Fitz is definitely one of my favorite characters so far. In general, he's been, I guess, just in the back of my mind, but definitely one of my favorite characters of the premiere so far.
So not to keep bringing it up, but based on that scene, he was so calm and collected. I'm curious if they're just forgetting that he had brain damage and was kind of insecure and unsure of himself last season.
I feel like they probably want to say he's done with that. I did like that story idea in the second season, and I like that they didn't spend too much time focusing on it. But such is the way TV is, I feel like that's probably gone at this point.
Yeah, it's too bad just because, it kind of sends a bad message of you can recover from traumatic brain injury, which isn't really true. But at the same time, it's like that they must have decided that plot line wasn't working for him, or they just didn't want to keep going with it.
Yeah, they got everything they needed out of it. So, also, let's see. I don't want to say anything about Gemma until the very end here. What else did we see? Oh, who did we not see this week? We didn't see Ward, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet, have we? Oh, this was the first episode.
Yeah. So we haven't seen him this episode. Also, I made it through the entire show and never realized Melinda May was missing. Is that weird?
Well, they mentioned a couple times.
Yeah, I guess they did, but I was never wanting for scenes with May.
Yeah, well, I don't know what she's up to, but I'm sure we'll see her again.
Well, didn't we see at the end of last season she took off with Blair Underwood?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, who knows, man? Maybe she's living her apple pie life and everything's fine now, and there's gonna have to be an event that draws her back in. I don't know.
I was surprised by the way that they actually said the name Sky once in the episode. I thought they were just going to commit fully and just call her Daisy the whole time.
Yeah, I almost feel like that was the show acknowledging the fact that it's so hard to suddenly call her a new name. I like that Coulson was the one who messed it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely that, because he's like, is that difficult for anyone? And Mac and Hunter were like, nope, just you.
So I thought that was pretty good, too. We had a new antagonist this season. So last season we had kind of Talbot with the government, and by the end of that season, it seemed like Talbot and Coulson were kind of friendly. So I guess they've kind of brought in a new opposition for Coulson. Somebody who's not truly evil, although they originally tried to play it up that way.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with that, actually, by the way, that they tried to make her look so stone cold and evil, and then you find out she's not. Like, she's looking over in that morgue room at all the bodies, and she has this kind of look of satisfaction on her face. And then you find out later she didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, I like that he's got a strong foil, I guess, at this point. Maybe they have bigger plans, especially with Ward not being present. Maybe the remnants of Hydra are going to be a bigger thing to deal with, and Coulson's just going to have this in-the-field ally. I really wonder how Talbot's going to play into things now when there seems to be a new government force working against Coulson or with him. I'm not really sure at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I really did like the actress, though, who plays Rosalind.
Oh, absolutely.
She was on House of Cards. She played Janine, I think her name was. But, yeah, I'm really enjoying her in the role. I think she and Coulson played well together.
Absolutely, and I love that moment when both of their phones start ringing.
Yeah.
That was just played very, very well. They both knew what the call was about, and they kind of... I love what Coulson has the moment. He's like, are we doing a Russian thing? Are you serious? You know?
He's like, are we still doing KG Banner, or are we suddenly being honest now?
Right.
It was so great.
So
I also loved when Joey, like, they told him about his alien past, and that scene where he just busts up laughing. Like, I thought that was played really, really well.
Yes. So, and yeah, we did see our kind of first fish oil victim, at least the one that's still living in this episode. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with Joey. I wonder if he's going to be a recurring character throughout the season, and possibly somebody who has to consider whether or not they want to register.
I'm guessing that he'll be possibly the first recruit into Sky's Secret Warriors, or Daisy's Secret Warriors.
I could see that.
But I don't know how they'll use his ability.
I don't know either, but my thinking, and I was forgetting about the Secret Warriors angle, but my thinking was that he may be like a viewpoint character to kind of explore the issues. We saw the President come back from Iron Man 3.
Yep.
And he was definitely talking about Captain America Civil War issues with, heroes showing up, or really just powered people showing up, and the need to kind of organize what's going on. Yep. So I almost wondered if Joey was kind of our viewpoint character into this universe who maybe is going to be somebody required to make a decision at some point.
He's also a way to get in, like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to start Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., now's a good time. He's kind of a viewpoint character for the new viewer, especially with how he reacted to the whole "you're part alien" thing. And it was like that. It's so ridiculous, but it is the plot of the show, and he kind of allows the viewer to feel that.
Yep. Just we'll call him Jubilee from here on out.
Sure.
I mean, that's what he's serving at this point.
And there's so much to talk about, but then they introduced Lash, and I really, really liked that introduction. Like, that booming line when he comes in, and then he's like, tell me where the Inhuman is, and then he kills the guard, and it's like, never mind. Like, I just loved everything about that intro.
Yeah, and I do think Lash's look is still a bit sketchy at the moment, but he's also been shadowed a bit. I mean, he just doesn't seem as nice as, like, a Dark Elf that we've seen, or the Chitauri or anything.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, no, definitely a really cool, menacing character, and I like that Daisy and
it's gonna take a while.
Lincoln. Yeah, I know, it's going to take me a while, too. I like that Daisy and Lincoln had a nice standoff with him.
Yeah, and that's, again, kind of showing a new direction of the show, because we're really not used to seeing almost like power Kamehameha battles, which is what happened. Like, they were both blasting him with their energy beams, and he was just kind of taking it.
Yep.
So we're definitely going to see more all-out power usage this season, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure part of that's probably even kind of forced upon the shows. Maybe not the right phrase, but I'm sure they noticed how successful Flash was last season with using powers on a regular basis, and they're probably like really got to get that integrated into the show. Yeah,
and the show's been more grounded until now, so yeah, that's not surprising they want to go that direction now.
Yep. So, all right, well, again, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., another really good episode this week. It's hard for me to pick which one I liked better than whether it be Gotham or S.H.I.E.L.D. I might, as awesome as S.H.I.E.L.D. was, I might still be leaning towards Gotham, believe it or not. Greg, if you had to pick a best between the two, what would you pick?
Ooh, it's tough. All the shows were good this week. I did really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though.
Okay. So, well, there you have it. So vote for each show.
Did you want to mention Simmons?
Oh, right, Simmons. Okay, so we should touch on this quickly.
So yeah, the post-credits, basically, at the end, we see her running around, and I can't tell if she's being chased by something. She kept looking back as if there was something chasing her.
Seems like she is being chased by something,
yeah. And
but
then, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
Basically, she hides behind a rock and turns around, and you see that she's on a planet clearly not in our solar system.
Right. The tone of the visual tone of the shot was blue, and I was like, oh, is she on the blue area of the moon? And I thought maybe for half a second they're finally going to have the royal family on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I knew better. No, she's definitely in a planet far from anything we know. So
yeah, there was like some gas giant off in the distance, just stuff you wouldn't recognize.
Exactly. So it's worth noting that Marvel already knows what the plan is for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm pretty sure that movie starts filming in the next 2 months or so. So I'm sure Jeff Loeb's had conversation with Kevin Feige, and I think James Gunn is still writing and directing Guardians 2, so he probably knows where that show is going. So I have a feeling whatever Simmons' subplot is, it's probably going to tie into Guardians 2 pretty nicely.
Yep, I would hope so.
So
and Fitz just goes nuts over the monolith. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So standout acting, actually, from Ian McCaster. So great show, though. So let's go ahead and talk about Heroes. Now, this is one that Jeff and I have not been following up on, so Greg, just kind of give us a quick lowdown of what's going on and what we should care about.
Sure. So we saw a little bit of a character, Melina, who is apparently going to be one of the leads. We saw her just briefly in the last episode, but she seems to be off in the Arctic messing with the Northern Lights. I don't know if they've replaced the character from the web series with her, because the character from the web series had the ability to manipulate lights. And it's possible they were going to use her in that role. I don't know. But yeah, we don't know much about her yet. Zachary Levi's character Luke and his wife Joanne are still riding around chasing after powered people, except that Luke seems to be manifesting new abilities, like the ability to heat things. He was heating up a knife and kind of overcooked his rare steak. And then toward the end of the episode, you see him go outside and like light up. And he didn't explode, but it kind of reminded me of in the original series when you had this guy Ted Sprague who would like go nuclear, and I think he ended up actually exploding. So yeah, I think I mentioned last week that I was expecting to see he had powers in the future, and that's what seemed to have happened. In the Yamagata Tower, which is where the episode left off last week, we had Miko fighting all the guards, and then Harris, the guy from last week, shows up and kind of subdues her, and he takes her sword and then starts to interrogate her, and during the interrogation Miko chops off his hand with a cleaver, and the hand falls to the floor, and then you see Harris and his arm starts regrowing, but then the piece that got chopped off actually rematerializes as a completely new Harris clone, which was pretty crazy. Also, during the interrogation, Harris mentioned something about how Miko didn't remember the accident. And we don't know what the accident is, but it's implied that either Miko or her father died in the accident. And he referred to Miko at one point as her father's greatest work. So I'm very curious if Miko is real or if she's not some sort of digital entity that exists. That basically she isn't a powered person so much as she's some sort of program that has been loosed in the world somehow that her father made after she died. That's my theory anyway.
Okay.
So you have the characters of Eve and Molly on a plane, and Molly's trying to convince Eve that what she's doing is wrong, and Eve seems somewhat conducive to it, but is still trying to be, hard about it. And then Noah and Quentin go to a hospital to get his gunshot injury treated, and Noah finds out that he's wanted by everybody at the hospital, so he tracks down this guard and has him show him security footage of what happened, why he's wanted, and ends up finding video of him looking at Claire's corpse, but he's also like jumping around, and there's like time skipping, so he speculates that Hiro was involved somehow, so we're probably going to see Hiro coming up soon.
Well, I do think that Masayoka is actually in this show. I think that was announced.
Yeah, they've in the previews they've shown him a couple times actually.
Okay.
So we know he's coming.
So did they actually have Hayden Panettiere posing as a corpse then, or
they didn't show her face? It was just a blonde girl with a sheet over her.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the character I mentioned this last week, my least favorite plot line, Carlos, is trying to help Underground Railroad people as El Vengador, and I looked this up, and El Vengador actually means the Avenger, which I found funny. But yeah, so he's trying to help the Underground Railroad people, and basically he gets beaten up because he doesn't have the powers that El Vengador does. And then Tommy, the teleporting guy, tells his mom about the guy that's been helping him, and we see his mom run out to this guy with a gun, which we didn't know she even had access to guns, and she talks to him, and there's some strong implication that he is Tommy's father, and I've heard that speculated, but we'll have to see that in the future. And then lastly, we had the introduction of our new main villain, who is Erica Kravid, the CEO of Renatus, and it kind of reminded me of Rosalind in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like they were doing something very similar, where she leads this company, and she's kind of spineless or heartless, but I don't think she's going to, like, the way they kind of turned Rosalind around at the end, where it turned out she wasn't really killing people, I don't think they're going to do that with Erica. I think she's going to be full-on evil, and her daughter, Eve, is the one that Molly was talking to on the plane, trying to convince her, and it seemed like she was somewhat receptive. I get the sense that Erica is kind of the opposite, and we don't know what motivates her yet, but she seems pretty set in her ways to take out all Evos. And at the end of the episode, she introduces this new program/hardware that they've created by hooking up Molly to a bed in a hospital, and basically they're using her power to locate and identify all Evos.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's
they've got
lots
a Cerebro.
They do. There's lots of interesting plot lines going on there. I really enjoyed it this week. Again, I would say Carlos is probably the least interesting thing for me. We'll have to see where that goes in the future. But yeah, I'm very interested to see where it goes.
Have they elaborated yet how Claire actually died? Because wasn't her ability, even more so than Wolverine, to recover from anything unless she's been decapitated?
Yep, there's a mention in this episode after Noah finds out that she's dead. Quentin says, how could she die? I mean, that shouldn't be possible with her power. And Noah's like, I've got no idea.
Oh, okay.
So that'll either be revealed in the future, or my personal theory is we're going to find out that she's not really dead. And I still think we'll see Hayden Panettiere at some point, but I know she's on Nashville or something. So
which is a huge show for that network. So
yeah, so it's
getting her away from that is hard. Yeah.
Yep.
So all right, well, I guess I could always do the the BS plot line where she's so misfigured that another actor's playing her and it's the same girl.
Oh, that would be too bad.
So
it's like what happened to Molly.
Oh yeah, right. They've already done this on the show. So, well, now there's precedent. So
there you go.
All right. Well, so your thoughts on Heroes Reborn compared to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Gotham right now?
It's okay. Well, I mean, the other two shows already have a lot of history set up. So, with Heroes Reborn, I'm still just kind of waiting to see where it goes.
Okay.
I would say it's good so far.
Okay. So, one thing I forgot to ask last week, and I forgot to check on myself, when Heroes Season 4 was running, and I think even Season 3, Netflix was streaming on Xbox. That was the only thing it was streaming on at the time, just because that was the first home streaming device. Heroes was actually airing or showing up on Netflix the night after it aired on television. You could go to Netflix and catch the episode. Are they still doing that? Have you looked into that, or do we know anything about that?
I'm checking right now. I'll let you know in just a second.
Okay, because I loved that when I was watching the original seasons, but since then we've had Hulu show up and a bunch of other sort of on-demand programs. I don't know if that's still going on or not, but
Heroes doesn't look like they have it.
Okay, Heroes was the only show I could actually remember doing that too, though, so I wasn't sure what the contract was there that allowed that to happen.
Yeah, it's really too bad because I would watch it there. I definitely prefer to watch things on one place if I could.
Right, exactly. Especially so you don't have to subscribe to so many different things too.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right then. Well, thanks for that recap on Heroes. Sounds pretty interesting. Still hearing some X-Men vibes in there.
Yep, still definitely playing the X-Men.
So, normally at this point in the show, guys, we would talk about comics. This week, however, believe it or not, there was no book that came out that I personally was willing to cover, or Jeff or Greg for that matter. So we have no comics for this week, but next week is a bit of a doozy. We are getting some of our first post-Secret War books. I'm going to run through a list of books here that we could potentially cover, and we'll certainly hit on some of these for sure, but we may not hit every book. So if you guys have a preference of what you'd like to hear us review or talk about, definitely let us know in the comments below. But right now what we're eyeing are Amazing Spider-Man #1, Avengers 0 issue, Darth Vader 10, Doctor Strange #1, Invincible Iron Man #1, Star Wars Shattered Universe #2, Lando #5, Secret Wars #6, and Star Wars #10. Now, if we don't get any votes, I'd say we're probably for sure going to hit on Spider-Man, Secret Wars, and Star Wars, and we'll see where we go from there. You guys have any thoughts on those books? Anything that you're looking forward to most?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see more of the Secret Wars plotline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, with issues number 6 of 8, we already kind of know that 8 is designed at this point now to be more of a denouement than it is an actual progression of the story. 6 is probably going to start ramping up to some sort of climax, so it should be pretty interesting to see. Still predicting that Reed Richards is going to do some sort of self-sacrifice that ends both him and Doom before we get the world reset.
Jeff, are you reading Vader and Lando?
I am. I'm reading every Star Wars book that comes out.
So what do you have to look forward to on that next week?
I'm thinking, honestly, I think the biggest issue next week, unless Shattered Empire just does something crazy, I think Star Wars 10 is probably going to be the biggest just because of where Luke ended up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
My only thought with that is they may, just to build tension, put it off a week and have it be more of a Han and Leia book.
Yeah.
So, but I honestly don't see them doing that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Based on... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, Vader and Lando are both in really good places. Lando, surprisingly enough, is probably my favorite book right now, and it was, outside of Princess Leia, it was probably my least looked forward to of all of them. But they went to a really dark place with it that not dark so much as far as it being, depressing, but a lot of Sith antiquities pop up that I just was not expecting from a Lando book.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. And also, Doctor Strange #1, Jeff, you had commented that you're really looking forward to that.
Yes, I cannot wait for that. Honestly, my only exposure to Doctor Strange at the moment, or my main exposure, has been the animated movie that I watched on Netflix. I don't know where it originally came out at.
It was a direct-to-DVD movie from like 2007, and just a little bit of backstory. Marvel, back in 2002, 2003, I can't remember exactly when, they actually made a deal with Lionsgate Studios to produce 8 original Marvel films, and their hope was to compete with the amazingly good direct-to-DVD DC Warner animated stuff that was coming out. And we got, of those 10 movies, 6 of them, I think, are actually pretty good. Avengers and Avengers 2. There was also an Iron Man direct-to-DVD and a Doctor Strange. And quality kind of dropped after that. We got a so-so Avengers Kids movie. A movie where Thor was a kid and learning to use his powers for the first time. That really just kind of declined as the whole set progressed. It was really kind of a missed opportunity by the end. And the only time they ever adapted an actual comic book were the Avengers, and then Planet Hulk got a movie, which for me was a little boring. So, but that's kind of where that came from. And ever since, they've just been repackaging and putting it on digital platforms.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but yeah, Doctor Strange, it's a great movie. I think the animation gets a little dicey towards the end, but that may just be a case of the studio that they went through. It's just some of the fire effects, I think, look a little more superimposed than they probably need to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think for me, a big part of it is just the whole, the kind of Eastern vibe the whole movie had. I thought was really cool. I don't know how much that actually really ties in to the original comic from the source material, but I mean, it's another reason I kind of like Iron Fist so much. Just that whole kind of vibe, I just really enjoy.
Right, well, in that sense, I think that Doctor Strange is pretty faithful, and if anybody wants to see kind of what to expect from the Doctor Strange movie, not only is this issue #1 comic coming out probably going to be pretty informed by how the movie is going to take place, but I think that Doctor Strange animated movie is a great way to get your general exposure to who Doctor Strange is.
On that note, too, I did see an announcement. There was some talk from, I don't know if it was the producer or the director, like 6 months ago. He wasn't talking about Doctor Strange specifically, but he was just saying, how he's kind of sick of origin movies. We know the stories, blah, blah, blah. And then he just came out, I think, a week ago or something like that and said that he did confirm Doctor Strange is going to be an origin movie. So he kind of doubled back, but I don't know, and which I could kind of see because Doctor Strange isn't, really not like Iron Man where he's a super mainstream.
Yeah, he's not in the lexicon.
Yeah, I was about to say,
exactly.
like, I don't even know Doctor Strange's origin.
Yeah, you specifically, I think, would really enjoy it. I would definitely go and watch that movie just with your
very good
your Japanese fixation.
Yeah, and you guys listening along, definitely check it out. Like Jeff said, it's on Netflix right now. What is it? Runtime about 120 minutes?
Probably maybe less.
Maybe less than
it's not a terribly long. I mean, it's not short, but it's not a super long movie. It's not Lord of the Rings.
Right. And if you guys do like that, though, definitely check out Invincible Iron Man if it's still on there, and Avengers 1 and 2. especially the Avengers film, you'll see a lot of parallels with ideas that they borrowed when doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe at large. So, all right, well, so we'll kind of dig into a bunch of comics next week. Like I said, we won't be able to hit all of them, so definitely leave which ones you guys are most interested in hearing about, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. Moving on, though, let's go ahead and talk about games. Jeff, let's start with your continuing impressions of Disney Infinity. Now that you've had a chance, Rise of the Empire came out this week, the new playset for Disney Infinity 3.0. That's the Star Wars playset based on the original trilogy. And Jeff, you picked that up Tuesday as well as every figure, correct?
I did. I got the full group. So far, I've been playing as Leia. She's pretty awesome. I figured since the Twilight Republic was an almost exclusively lightsaber focused game, I'd go ranged on this one. I could not have been more pleasantly surprised with this game. The Clone Wars is probably my favorite time frame, at least of what's been released so far of Star Wars. So I was a big fan of Twilight of the Republic, but as far as gameplay itself, I actually think I prefer this playset. It is much more vehicle focused. You're flying X-wings, you're flying snow speeders, and I'm not really sure how they did it, being as it's still the 3.0 engine, but the vehicle combat or vehicle controls in general feel so much better than they did in Twilight of the Republic.
That's awesome.
And that's good news.
Yeah, and being that it's literally the same game, just a different playset. I don't know where the changes came from. It is worth noting it is more flying combat, whereas Twilight of the Republic was more ground based, like pod racing, that type of stuff. This is more flying around. But so far I'm through Hoth, so I don't know that I'm quite 2/3 of the way yet, depending on how far they take the story, but absolutely loving it.
I've heard that the story is a little bit mismashy. Like, basically, they want to keep the whole team together, but then you end up having people introduced, and it's like, wait, but you were already here.
Yeah, and I haven't had the introductions be a problem yet, but yeah, when it starts out in the movie, you've just got Leia, 3PO, and R2 on the ship. It's the full group of them, Han, Chewie, Luke, Leia, trying to stash 3PO and R2 because they have the Death Star information. So yeah, they do make a point of keeping everyone together.
Okay, so there's not a moment where you go to Mos Eisley and meet Han and Chewie for the first time?
No, you do go to Mos Eisley, but you have to. What was it? I believe the plot is because Han owes Jabba so much money. That's actually one of the side quests you have to do. You have to pay Jabba back, essentially. The Millennium Falcon is he's basically got it locked up. He's got it in Hawk, so you've got to raise money by doing side missions to get to free up the Falcon so you can get off the planet.
This sounds
now,
fun.
Is the Mos Eisley level the same one that we saw in Twilight of the Republic?
Not that I noticed.
Okay.
It's honestly, I wasn't even thinking about that when I was playing it, but no, I don't believe it is.
Oh, that's perfect, though. I was kind of worried that they would just, copy and paste the level design and update the character models. So
one thing I did notice now that you mentioned that is Hoth and Tatooine specifically, because it's so vehicle focused. Once you get essentially the way the levels are set up, it's not as vast as Twilight of the Republic felt, which kind of surprised me because it is. I figured vehicles it would be a bigger world.
Yeah.
You've essentially got your main city in each planet, and you've got a little bit of area you can explore outside of it. And it may just be because you're flying, it feels smaller, and it's not actually because you're not running on foot. But,
okay.
If you get in a snowspeeder or whatever, or an X-Wing, and you hit boost, you can get one into the map relatively quickly. So it does take some of the exploration feel away from it.
Okay.
But there's still a lot to do. So
do you get to have giant battles against AT-ATs?
You do. You do have to fire your tow cables. You can. There's an alternate way to beat it where you can actually take over an AT-AT instead and use it to take out the other ones.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I thought that was kind of cool, yeah.
So, well, good. I just picked up the playset myself. Came in the mail yesterday, so I'm looking forward to diving into that myself. So,
highly recommend.
Excellent.
I just figured before we move on to Marvel Puzzle Quest, apparently, and I don't know if either of you guys really heard anything about this, Lego Dimensions released this week.
It did.
Yes, my
Toys
goodness,
R Us is swamped.
Yeah.
Tables set up everywhere.
And I've been to Target looking for some Legends on sale and a bunch of other retailers, and yeah, it's in full force. Now I have noticed that some stores don't seem to have all the play sets, and I don't think it's because they're sold out. I just don't think they did. I just don't think they got them all. One Target I went to just had nothing Wonder Woman, and another Target I went to had just tons of them. So I'm not sure how the stores are having their cases divided up. But definitely worth noticing. It doesn't seem to be even at every store. So if you don't find it at one store, go to another one. You might find it.
Yeah. If anyone listening does play it, let us know how that is. I'm so invested in Disney Infinity right now. I don't think I'm going to be picking it up, but I would love to know how the Lord of the Rings playsets are.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I would love to hit up the Ghostbusters stuff when it comes out.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure Greg would love to do the Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be...
Greg would love to play Disney Infinity on PC. But...
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But LEGO Dimensions is supposed to be able to give you the ability to play with all your heroes in any playset, so that gives it a little bit of a bonus.
I'm going to have to look up some video of that, because I kind of want to see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But also, again, with the Ghostbusters stuff, they didn't... I think with Dan Aykroyd, that was the only actor they got original voice work for, and everyone else is recycled from the movies. So I'm curious to see how that plays out when you actually go through the playsets. If they're obviously have canned lines from the movie just generally being spoken while you're fighting around, or how they handle that. So
if it's like Disney Infinity, then many of the playsets might just be kind of playing through the stories of the games, you know?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what to expect on that front. So, all right. Well, thanks for that feedback then on Rise of the Empire. You haven't finished it yet, right?
I have not finished it, no. I actually just took down the AT-ATs on Hoth. There's still some side missions I can do before I move on.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right, well, next week should be interesting as we touch on Disney Infinity, because it'll be, if we record on Friday, it'll be the Friday before New York Comic Con, and I imagine there's going to be some leaks related to the Avengers content coming out.
Yes, Comic Con, there's also supposed to be some big Rebels reveals too. I know it's not going to happen, but I'm still crossing my fingers for a Rebels playset. But I'm seeing as how the figures are already out, I'm sure I'm not going to get it. But
maybe in the future, 4.0.
Yeah, you never know.
So
Toy box, I can make my own. Maybe I'll just have to.
Yeah, there's probably one out there.
So, all right, well then let's talk about Marvel Puzzle Quest. This weekend marks the 2-year anniversary of the game. Now, the first year that the game was out, they gave away 3 different Devil Dinosaur cards, which is a character that you can't even get anymore in the game. That's a 3 or 4-star character. I can't remember exactly.
That's 4-star.
He's a 4-star. Okay. So what they're doing this weekend is they're making Devil Dinosaur available again via tournament. So I'm not sure how that's going to work as far as how easy it's going to be to win. But they're also introducing the Jim Lee era Cyclops, the same Cyclops that was on the X-Men animated series of the 90s. So he's a 4-star character, the second Cyclops we've had in the game so far. I personally am going to do everything I can to make sure I secure one of those cards. But I think it's pretty awesome he's going to be in the game. And Red Hulk is being introduced to the game, and this will be the first time Red Hulk's been in the game. Also, there's going to be a Galactus sort of boss battle. Now, I don't think they've said that he's going to be a card you can win. He's just going to be a boss. But from what I can tell, it seems like Galactus is going to be one of those things where you better have completely maxed out 3-star or 4-star cards before you try to fight him, which kind of sucks for people who haven't been playing the game for a whole year. But I'm still looking forward to that. I'm hoping the difficulty scales. But it starts this Saturday with the option to get Cyclops and Red Hulk. And then Tuesday of next week, I believe, is when Devil Dinosaur is actually, that tournament actually shows up. So also in the game, we've seen since Monday of this week, I think, some sort of, I don't know, black hole or eddy or something. There's an event coming up that has a countdown timer, and I thought it was going to be post-Secret Wars content. It may still be because it's set to expire on a Wednesday when all the post-Secret War books come out. So it'll be interesting to see if that's just part of the anniversary event or the Devil Dinosaur tournament. I'm not really sure. But if you guys have been playing Marvel Puzzle Quest, or if you put it down for a while, you might want to pick it up again this weekend. And they also said there's going to be increased experience gains, and they said nothing about the story content. Is that right, Greg? Do you remember?
Right, yeah. I did read, though, that, and I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but they're going to distribute a double ISO token for versus and story mode, not including the prologue. And I don't know if that means, like, you log in during the event and you just get this token forever, or if it's like a consumable, you use it and it will double your ISO for however long, you know?
That's a little less desirable given the cooldown times.
Yep.
All right, but I'm personally really looking forward to that event. I started playing Marvel Puzzle Quest. Oh, I don't know, probably
close to a year ago now.
Has it been a year already?
I know I'm on day like 260, 270 of the rewards.
Oh, I guess I'd have to be ahead of you then. So yeah,
yep.
I guess it's been almost a year for me. So, but it's been a really fun game to dive into. Also, I should mention too, I guess, on my continuing impressions of the Star Trek Wrath of Gems puzzle game. I'm enjoying the game still. At this point, I'm kind of in a holding pattern. I have to keep playing lower level missions so I can farm experience crystals, because the story mode took a giant leap in difficulty, and I just have no chance. The game is very unapologetic. I'm still noticing this. If you're under level, you can't win through tactics or playing smart. The game's just going to punish you for trying. So I'm just trying to grind out my heroes and get my daily reward until I'm high enough level that the game will actually give me a fair fight. So, but outside of that, I enjoy how the Star Trek license is being used. There's some nice sound effects in there. I still think Family Guy Star Trek content was probably the best use of the license I've seen on a mobile game so far.
Unfortunately, the game wasn't very good.
Yeah, unfortunately, the game wasn't.
Star Trek stuff was great.
Yeah, right. I absolutely loved it. So, and I'm still doing the Family Guy stuff. Right now, they're going into their Halloween kind of content, and that just started. So that'll be running until October 31st. And lastly, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but it was just announced that Ghostbusters is now getting a color-matching jewel puzzle game. So I'm not sure if that's out yet or if it's coming out soon. I'm sure it's being done because of the new movie. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to try to download it if my phone has enough space, and maybe I can comment on how that plays versus Marvel Puzzle Quest and Star Trek Wrath of Gems.
Yeah, and I wonder what Ghostbusters are going to use.
I would like to see them use the original 4, but then it'd be cool if they go Extreme Ghostbusters and have those guys, just kind of build it out of Janine and oh my goodness, Lewis, if he's a playable character. Because with just the 4 main guys, if they have a card system built into it, kind of like Marvel Puzzle Quest and Star Trek do, they are going to run out of characters pretty quickly.
I gotta think, well, and who knows, but maybe you are a Ghostbuster and you're using ghosts or something?
Oh, that could be interesting.
Because that would allow them to do basically however much they wanted.
This could be a fascinating idea. You start with 4 Ghostbusters, and there's an element in the game where you have to trap them. And once you trap them, they're now a card you can use.
Yeah.
How Pokemon / Jade Cocoon would that be?
Enough. Enough to get me to play.
Even, right? Yeah, all those games. So, all right. Well, that's my coverage, I guess, of the mobile games I've been playing. Greg, is there anything that you've been playing?
Not on mobile, no.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about our pick of the week then. Jeff, let's start with you. What is your pick of the week?
All right, mine is actually a little bit older. It's a comic series called Star Wars Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. Came out May of 2014. It's the only Dark Horse series or Dark Horse Star Wars comics that are considered canon. I just picked them up last week. I was fortunate enough to actually find them in just the back issues in my local comic store, which is surprising because they're actually fairly valuable now. If you haven't read them, if you can find them, pick them up. Like I said, they are fairly expensive to buy, but if you're fortunate enough to find someone that has them, like I said, I don't want to go into too much on it because it's unfinished episodes from the Clone Wars. It kind of wraps up Darth Maul's story. Chance that he may show up in Rebels, the fact that they made it canon and the way that the series ends, it would not surprise me if he shows up in Rebels. Maybe not this season, but next. But if you can somehow get your hands on it, I would definitely recommend going and checking it out.
All right. Sounds awesome, honestly. Is that on Comixology? Have you looked into it?
I have not yet. I honestly, I doubt it because there hasn't, at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen a lot of Dark Horse stuff pop up on there since Marvel got the license. I could be wrong on that. I haven't looked, in depth, but if it is, definitely read it.
So. All right, Greg, what's your pick of the week?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit self-serving, I guess, but if you're interested in Disney Infinity 3.0, there are amazing deals this week on the playsets. You can get $10 off on the Inside Out playset, Rising Against the Empire playset, Twilight of the Republic playset. Plus, you can get $15 off of all the starters. If you want to find out where, you can go on my website, DisneyFinityCodes.com, and check our weekly deals. There's Amazon, Target, Best Buy. There's deals all over the place. But it's a good week to buy.
Excellent. And I guess on the plug front, Jeff, you have a Twitch channel that you kind of host your gameplay when you're playing on Xbox, right?
Yeah. So on Disney Infinity, like I said, it's not an everyday type of thing, but whenever I am on there, I usually do throw up the stream. It's twitch.tv/ForgottenXJedi. Whenever I'm on Infinity, I'll hop on there. I do have all of the Star Wars content, so most of the stuff is unlocked too. If there's anything you guys can't figure out or just a boss fight you want to see, let me know. I'll jump around, play whatever you guys want. I'm pretty easy on that. Usually try to keep the chat as active as I can. Follow me on Twitter as well, Hints_Jeff. Tweet goes up anytime I'm streaming, so
okay,
sweet. You guys know.
My pick of the week is a bit of a, interesting one. It may not appeal to any of you guys if you're not fans of wrestling. I haven't been a super wrestling fan since the Monday Night Wars back in the 90s and 2000s, but I still like to check in every once in a while and see what's going on. And there's a YouTube channel called What Culture WWE. That's WHATCULTUR. URE space WWE. So it's What Culture WWE. And they do a lot of different videos, but I've been enjoying their top 10 countdowns of like things WWE doesn't want you to know about The Undertaker or worst botches in history. And then there's another show I really enjoy called How WWE Should Have Booked Blank. And they talk about title matches that should have gone another way, or perhaps the way that Sting really should have been introduced into the WWE. Some pretty cool videos from a guy who definitely knows his wrestling history. So it's just been kind of fun. He's got a lot of snark in his delivery too, so it's been kind of fun to watch those. But that's the What Culture WWE channel on YouTube. There is a separate What Culture channel on YouTube that focuses on all sorts of geek stuff. But nice. This is kind of, short of like Glenn Webb's wrestling figure reviews, this has kind of been my WWE fix in the last few days. So
awesome.
All right. Well, that's our show for the week, guys. Again, don't forget to let us know what comic books you want us to cover next week. We have a lot to go through. If there's any way we can pull it off, maybe we'll do a bullet points on every book that we do read. We're going to be reading a lot because there's a lot to get used to with the Secret War now showing the changes in the Marvel Universe. So, but let us know what you want to hear about most. We're also going to have Flash and Arrow to talk about, so it's going to be kind of a busy week. We may have to cut something. We're not sure yet. But if you guys want to get in touch with us, or if you want to send us a question, definitely make sure to tweet me at D21Beast, or tweet Greg at
Yoshimitsu47,
or tweet Jeff at
Hints_Jeff.
And if you do tweet us a question about the show or something you want us to answer or talk about, make sure to hashtag Project Geek Week in your Twitter question. That way we can find it easily. And let me just double check really quick here. I should have had this pulled up, but I want to make sure nobody has actually tweeted us. I put out a call to arms before the show here. Let's see here. But on top of the questions, guys, also make sure you're checking out my unboxing. If you're interested in getting a digital copy of Avengers Age of Ultron, definitely check my video out on YouTube and play the contest rules, and you might have a chance at winning a free copy of the movie.
So what's your favorite Avenger?
My favorite Avenger right now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's Captain America, but I'm really loving what they're doing with Falcon. I think Falcon was a breakout star of Captain America the Winter Soldier. It's a spoiler at this point, but everyone who's seen it who wanted to see it has probably seen it now. He does appear in Ant-Man and has a great moment in Ant-Man. And I just really think Anthony Mackie's like the perfect actor to play that role. But Captain America, man, he's just tried and true. He's the heart and soul of that team right now. I think he honestly starts to overshadow Robert Downey's performance as Iron Man in the movies anymore. So, And I still think Captain America the Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie so far.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. So looking at my Project Geek Week hashtag on Twitter, I think I put out the question a little too late. Nobody seems to be asking anything this week. But guys, you can definitely send us a question if you want to, and we'll be glad to address it on the show. Do you guys have anything else you want to say or mention on the show? Anything you want to plug?
I don't think so.
Only thing I can think of is League of Legends World Championships for this weekend. So if you guys are on Twitter, show Counterlogic Gaming some love. They're 2-0 so far. So.
All right. Well, there you go. League of Legends. Got to follow those top players. So. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.